Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. It seems a lot of folks were interested in those questions and answers and tips videos that I did, so we're going to try another one. I get a lot of questions in on a regular basis. I thought I would try to answer some of those for you today, share some tips with you, and well, see if we can't make this another way of kind of extending the videos that I do to help you learn more about fishing reel repair and service, and well, helping you to learn and to grow in your hobby or in your business, and well, pass along some of the things that I've learned over time. First one came in from one of our viewers, the Monkey Finesse, and he says, I'm sure you've seen plenty of damages to low profile reels. What would you say the weakest points are to the low profile reels? The line guide, the main gear, the pinion, the frame? Well, I just grabbed one. It's a little bit of an older one, but we'll use this for illustration. This is a Quantum Mag reel, 3 ball bearings in it. It has a release switch that's a central switch, not a button on the side. This one happens to be a lefty. This also does have a flip-in switch. So let's talk for a moment and try and answer that question for him. Well, he had asked line guide, main gear, pinion, frame. I would say the number one issue that comes in with this reel is actually the free spool release. That free spool release button seems to jam on an awful lot of reels. And why is that? Well, to understand that, understand the bait casting reel itself. It is not a sealed reel. It has the low profile, but it has the spool here, and there's gaps between the spools. And well, between the spool side plate and the edge of the spool, water gets in there, and it gets in there rather frequently. And on the gear side, that water, well, it's bringing in dirt and debris and the like. And the free spool release is just a series of springs and levers. It's eventually going to push an arm down. It's going to intersect with a click ratchet. And when you turn that, the click ratchet is going to push it up. The springs are going to pull that retrieve back. It's going to allow the yoke and pinion gear to engage with your spool. That's going to turn the reel. Dirt and debris is the number one cause for a push button or a free spool release lever. Broken springs are the second. So in this case, you have a flipper here. When you put the flipper in, it's going to allow you to push down and just release here without cranking to release. And that's usually the spring. And this one is usually dirt and debris. So that's number one failure. Number two also is associated with the water getting in behind the spool. And that is bearing failure. This is a 3 ball bearing reel. I assume we have 1 bearing here and 1 on each side of the spool. The high speed or low profile bait casting reels were made for casting. That's in their name, right? And to facilitate casting, those bearings are going to help. This one's over tightened, but those bearings are going to help with the spool speed. And most of the time, the bearings that the manufacturers install are just straight steel bearings. Steel rusts, steel pits, steel degrades, and what happens is with the constant water coming in on both sides of that, those steel bearings either seize or they just become very rough and kind of hard to handle. Other questions, the line guide. The line guide, there's 2 failure points on the line guide. First is in the pawl itself, and most of the time that'll fail because it'll come to one side and it won't go back. It'll just kind of bounce. That's one of 2 or 3 things going on there. In the pawl itself, there are 2 points on a pawl. Let's see if I can grab one here. There's 2 points on a pawl. If one of those points wears unevenly, so this one, if this one's shorter than that one, that will cause that tripping sensation. More times than not, it's not the points, but all dirt and debris gathers on the shoulders of these pawls right here, and that doesn't allow it to make the turn in the grooves of the worm gear. So when you have that as an issue, it gets stuck here because it can't turn because it's full of grease and debris. So a broken pawl tooth, dirt and debris inside is the second. The other failure point is up here. If you have an older reel, this I'll call an older reel, it's probably from the early 2000s, this guide here is not set for braid. This is a plastic insert. If you're using modern braid on an older reel like this, that will cut holes in that line guide. In some cases, I've seen them almost break them apart completely. If you get a rut there, it's going to fray the braid, it's going to scissor the line guide, it's going to reduce your casting distance quite significantly. So I would mention that that is the third. So what don't I see a lot of? Gear failure. Why? Well, you probably have a single drag washer in here. You have an oversized main and an undersized pinion. That gives you your high speed. Remember, big gear turns little gear, turns the spool to collect line. And, well, they're just not under a lot of pressure. They're not catching 60, 70, 80-pound fish. They're not fighting as significantly as it is. Most of these are hook 'em and rip 'em in, right? So very little time there. So I don't see gear failure on most modern reels. I do see gear failure on the gear that drives the pinion gear, and that's usually because that one's made of plastic. That's a fail-safe point. And what happens is when you're hooked up, tree stump, bottom, whatever it might be, and you try to power out of that by cranking the reel, something's got to give. And what gives is the idler gear that drives the worm gear. So I hope that answers your questions. The common failure points, it's number one by far is the trip lever, some failure points in the line guide assembly, and from a gear standpoint, a failure point in that. Well, if you like these types of questions and answers sessions and the like, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. That notification button will tell you when I'm posting. And, well, if it's something that you're interested in, you'll be the first to see it. Well, another question came in. A viewer's got a Mitchell 408. There's a 408. It needs to be restored. It's missing its trip mechanism and the handle here. We'll get to that in just a little while. But for now, he asked me, he told me, I have a problem. We had an over-tightened screw here. It broke the inner assembly. There's a little screw set here, as well as a screw set here on the bowls. And he wanted to know if a 308 rotor could fit a 408 reel, because he's having difficulty finding the 408 replacement. And I told him the only difference is, well, 408 is blue, high speed. 308 is black. He said he went on the internet and said that he found points out there where they're saying that it's not compatible. Well, for what he needs, the rotor cup, it is compatible. They're identical. They share the same patent number, and one is black and one is blue. Where they're not compatible is everything underneath. So this is a high-speed gear, high-speed reel. It has a different pinion gear that screws into the rotor cup. In order to use the 308 rotor cup on the 408, you need to switch out this pinion gear. That's the difference. So this one unscrews. As you can see, it's been screwed off. This pinion gear, you would remove the retaining nut and then screw this out. And once you screw that out, put the 408 cup in there, and everything else will work fine. Well, I'm hoping you're enjoying these, and I am going to continue to try and do some more. We'll finish on this one. We had, I have mentioned on numerous occasions that I have a split screwdriver that handles the flat-bladed screws fine. I wish I had something for the Phillips head screws. And well, Mark, who's our viewer, said, in the Amazon store, there's a Stanley Proto, a number J9866. It's for slotted and Phillips head screw starter. There's also an Ullman Devices DE2 double-ended screw starter. So I know we did one recently where we showed you how Dick has solved the problem. Dick from Pennsylvania, who sent this in, he puts a little plastic tube over the end of it and puts the screw inside of it, letting the tube hold it until you do that. But there's apparently two. There's a Stanley and an Ullman. And, well, if I get a chance, I'll order some of them, see what we can do to get that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed those questions. We've got more to come. This is episode 4. We'll do episode 5 at least. And then we'll see how this continues to be received. If it's received well, if you like these, please like the video. If you have questions like this, please leave them in the comment section. I do try to answer them. And if I can answer them and help you out, well, that's the whole idea behind Second Chance. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please stay watching. Have a great day. And if you have a chance, thank a first responder, our police, fire, safety, rescue, and everybody involved in keeping us well and out of harm's way. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.